Yes.
Hello.
Hi,
Hi, I'm on a very important thing about my town, so later on tell them.
Just tell them to call in and we
That's
can.
why I called
Well,
out.
That's
there's
it.
so many people here.
Having a special ceremony.
Sandy, it's okay. Don't ask what I had this morning.
Lawrence.
Nothing happens when I
Sent
when I
it
do
out
the
5
count.
times.
Now let me go to the
Okay,
count.
just tell them to call in.
Judy and Gilbert.
I have to do video settings.
Just tell them to use
Important.
either he can call
Important.
in or
Enable
just.
camera access for Zoom under
So can I
security
do
and
after it's
privacy
over?
in system
Hi,
preferences.
Steve.
Okay, I don't know
I
about
click on go to
girls
settings, right?
that they joined.
No, we have to give it. I'm trying to see if we
Hi,
can get up to
Naomi.
100.
Me and
Hi.
Andre,
Okay,
hi.
I'm gonna zoom you soon. I'll
25
text
people per
you.
We're
page.
almost there.
you to let you know I'm available. I'll call the house.
Okay.
Oh. Okay. As soon as I
No,
get off
just
the Zoom video, like 50 million people on
system
there, they don't know what
preferences,
they're
go
doing.
view window and help.
Say it now. You can say it louder.
No, it doesn't. It has icons.
Judy and
General video,
Oh, and
general
Jay's with
video,
Uncle Gary.
audio, share screen, background and filters.
Miriam. Yes.
Statistics,
Oh, here's Cousin
feedback,
Gary.
keyboard
Oh.
shortcuts, and accessibility.
Unmuted?
I didn't see you.
Hi, Cousin Jay.
No.
How are you?
Anna.
Albert.
I don't want to send anybody in yet.
Hi, Judy and Gil.
That's what I do. Video.
Rose. Hey, how are you? Okay.
I am on, if nothing happens, again, it just shows camera. It's
LA
defaulted
people,
to
where do you live in
FaceTime
LA?
camera, and it's defaulted to enable HD,
LA.
and always display participant names.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can scroll, I can't scroll
From
down.
LA, Sandy
To
Polinsky.
save it.
Andy,
Do you live in LA? There's a picture of me. Gil, at this
I'm trying to
Sandy
get the name.
Polinsky.
What?
Where do you live in LA?
I don't know their face. I don't know the people.
Where are you? Where? Do you live in the city or in the valley?
Valley.
In the valley, Casino. Oh, my mother-in-law lives in North Hollywood.
Ah.
All right, forget about it. I'm here for my face. Thank you. Thank you.
Hello, Isla.
It's on the bed. Are we starting
Hi.
sometime? No.
Very soon.
Hi, Isla.
Just didn't have it on the right page. He doesn't know I'm here, so what's the big deal?
There you are.
Try to meet me.
Mimi.
Hi, Jeremy.
Danziger?
Jeremy, Albert, I hear your voice. I don't see you.
Maurice, I'm here.
How are you?
We have somebody joining us from Belgium just
Nice
now.
to see
Wow.
you.
Wow.
Hi.
Oh, welcome, welcome.
Hi.
Who's from Belgium?
Who's from Belgium?
Okay.
Maurice, your cousin. Anna.
I'm in Israel.
Oh, nice.
Who's in Israel? Lucky.
Shalom Bracha.
Yeah. Was your mother from Bendin? Hi.
We're
Hello.
just a
Wonder
few
why I don't
shy
have
of
the students
100.
lined up. Yeah.
Are we, Anna?
Should we start and people will join as they come in?
Tons of people on here. There's a Michael Danziger on here. Do you know what Michael Danziger?
Yeah, who is that guy? That Michael Dan?
Where do I go to change my name? Oh.
Here you go.
I think, hi Ruth, how are you? Hi.
Do I post this something?
So should we start?
Yeah,
Yes,
why don't we
please.
start?
That's right,
I'm
we
gonna
say
mute
hey.
everybody, and we're gonna start.
Okay, so go
And
celebrate. I
Shana,
thought you might want to come on the Zoom,
Yeah.
but no, this is to be a Yizkor.
So Mom, why don't you unmute and we can begin?
Right. So, good afternoon and a warm welcome. Guests who are joining us today from all over the country, and I think all over the world. My name is Hannah Pfeffer, and I'm a co-president of the Fraternal Order of Bendin-Sosnowicer, or FOBS, as we call ourselves. On behalf of my co-president, Lorraine Kaufman, our officers and executive board members, welcome to our first ever Zoom Yizkor service. Thank you for joining us today. This is a brave new endeavor for FOBS, and we ask for your indulgence as we navigate the Zoom technology. Now that the holidays are over, we look forward to a new and better beginning. We look forward to a year of healing and peace after a plague that has brought us so much illness, suffering, loneliness, hardship, and loss. May we all be sealed in the book of life for a happy, healthy, and sweet new year.
Amen.
In these challenging times when uncertainty seems to be the only thing we can count on, it is comforting to know that our annual Yizkor commemoration is a constant. Your joining us on Zoom today makes it possible for us to commemorate our 77th Yizkor service. In a year when so much is different about the way we observe holidays or mark special occasions, in a year when we are unable to gather with our families and friends, when we're unable to come together as a community to pray and to remember, we are grateful to you for being part of the FOBS community. We miss seeing you in person. We miss seeing our survivors, their children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren who gather annually at our monument at Beth Israel Cemetery, rain or shine. But like so much in our lives, our plans were upended this year. While we're unable to see each other in person, and I know we can see each other on Zoom, and that our gathering looks very different, we are steadfast in our unity and in our connection to each other, as we just witnessed by being able to greet each other from far away. And though we may live in different parts of the New York metropolitan area or elsewhere in the US, we have a shared legacy as descendants of Holocaust survivors from the cities and towns of Zaglembia. In these difficult times, we're not only facing the unprecedented challenge of a global pandemic, but we're also experiencing a terrifying rise in global anti-Semitism, hate speech, and hate crimes targeting Jews everywhere. We're confronted by Holocaust deniers in ever greater numbers on social media, academia, and all around us. And we are still processing the shocking results of recent surveys that highlight the alarming ignorance about the Holocaust among millennials and other population groups everywhere in the world. This is a painful call to action. As descendants of Holocaust survivors, it is imperative that we remember the 6 million innocent men, women, and children who were exterminated simply because they were Jewish. It is our sacred responsibility to remind the world of what happened to our families, that keeping alive their memory is our responsibility, that teaching about the Holocaust is our mission, so that it never happens again, anywhere and to anyone. To uphold our commitment to these responsibilities, we are proud that our memorial service today includes 4 generations, survivors, 2 Gs, 3 Gs, and yes, 4th generation members. They will honor the memory of those who were murdered, and they will pay tribute to all our survivors who taught us about resilience, courage, determination, and hope. They showed us that it is possible to start all over again, to live, love, sing and dance, and give hugs again. Before we begin the service, I would like to express our deepest gratitude to all the participants in this virtual service who are joining us from their homes all over the world. Special thanks go to our Zoom host, Jeremy Pfeffer, for hosting and directing our program. And a big thank you to our co-host, Alan Pensack, for preparing the Zoom instructions we sent to you and for being here with us today to provide technical help. If anyone has trouble with the Zoom link or experiencing audio-visual issues, please do not hesitate to contact Alan by email right now at alanp.seniornet@gmail.com. He will help you connect. And of course, we wish to acknowledge the efforts and dedication of all our Yizkor committee members who work behind the scenes to make this Zoom meeting happen. A few last reminders. Please put your audio setting on mute to minimize background noise. Also, if you wish to see everyone on your screen, please select the gallery view. And a final point of information. This service is being recorded for the benefit of those who cannot watch live. The link to the recording will be posted on our FOBS Facebook page, and it will also be emailed to you in the next few weeks. So let's begin.
Unmute. Hi, I'm Hannah Berliner Fischthal. My parents were survivors, my mother from Antwerp, my father from Dąbrowa Górnicza. Lessons from the survivors. Although the High Holy Days and Sukkot have concluded for this new year, 5781, for us, Jewish Holocaust survivors and descendants of survivors, all our days are days of remembrance. Survivors have done an outstanding job relating their horrific experiences. They have made videos and audios. They gave interviews, wrote memoirs, held lectures. They created over 1,000 Yizkor books of exceedingly high quality, all in order to bear witness so that we and future generations could continue to remember and to mourn our families who were so brutally exterminated. There are 18 Yizkor books from just our Zagłębia region. We children of survivors have felt incumbent to continue the task of documenting, recording, writing, producing films, creating Holocaust encyclopedias, of publishing, editing, and translating works by survivors, of finding lost synagogues and cemeteries, of conducting historical research for JRI Poland, Jewish Gen, and hundreds of other scholarly websites and organizations. Over 300 Holocaust museums and memorials have been established. Our own Bendin-Sosnowicer Landsmannschaft has sponsored and supported a multitude of important remembrance projects. We remember that 90% of our family members were annihilated. 100,000 Zagłębia Jews were tortured, starved, beaten, worked to death, and are gassed. Our Zagłębia families were in at least 52 different slave labor and extermination lagers. Recording their suffering and murder is, of course, a necessary, even a holy task. Every criminal detail of the almost 43,000 camps and ghettos must be noted. The name of every victim should be remembered. Still, it has been 75 years since our parents were liberated from the Nazi hell. I don't know how they had the strength and courage to put the past behind them and to look to the future, to emigrate, to learn new languages, to forge new identities, to create new families. Now that we in the second generation are no longer young, it is time for us to take a step back and remember all the lessons that we were taught, lessons that we need to pass on. Netanyahu states that the primary lesson of the Holocaust is that Jews have to defend themselves. The United States Holocaust Memorial Museum asserts the critical lessons of the Holocaust are lessons about the fragility of freedom, the nature of hate, and the consequences of indifference. We know about the evils of being a bystander. But equally important, we need to remember the essential values that our survivor families instilled in us. Values such as decency, kindness, gratitude, lack of self-pity, honesty, and moral courage. As FOP's co-president Lorraine Kaufman says, my parents never taught to hate or judge or be cruel. We have learned that material goods are trivial, but benevolence, compassion, and empathy are significant. Survivors, in spite of all they went through and witnessed, were able to transform despair into hope. They smiled and laughed. The survivors in my family smiled. Willie Meyer warmly greeted me with big smiles. I have never seen Rosa Plavner without a smile. Similarly, we descendants of survivors must continue to transform our own burdensome feelings of guilt, sorrow, and anger into good deeds. It is our duty to bequeath to future generations not only the terrible facts about what happened, but also the positive values of Menschlichkeit that we learned. Evil did not triumph everywhere. This too we must remember always. Seid mir alle gesinnt.
Psalm 23. Mizmor leDavid, Adonai roi lo echsar, binodeh sheyarbitzeni, al mei menuchot yenaleni. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. God has me lie down in green pastures, and leads me beside still waters. Nafshi shovev, yamcheni b'maglet tzedek, le'aman shemo. Gam ki elech begetz al mavet lo yirara, ki ata imadi. Shivtecha ומשענתך המה ינחמוני. God guides me on paths of righteousness, revives my soul for the sake of his glory. And though I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no harm. For you, God, are with me. Your staff and your rod, they comfort me. Taroch lefanai shulchan neged tzorerai, dishanta v'Hashem en roshi kosi revaya. Ach tov v'chesed yirdefuni, כל ימי חיי, ושבתי בבית אדוני לאורך ימים. You set a table in the sight of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, and my cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
Jason?
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Jeremy. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jason Plowner, and I am a member of the third generation of our survivor ancestors. I've attended this event for as long as I can remember, and it is an honor to have the opportunity to speak this year. My grandfather, Carl Plowner of blessed memory, was a wonderful man, and I have many amazing memories with him that I will never forget. I'm incredibly fortunate that my grandmother, Regina, is alive and doing well, as well as other relatives that I cherish. These people are our treasure, and it is humbling to come together year after year to honor them and those who unfortunately we never had the opportunity to meet. As Jews, we are faced with the reality of growing anti-Semitism and general complacency for Holocaust denial. These are incredibly alarming, challenging, existential issues, but I learned from my grandfather and many other survivors to always remain incredibly optimistic about the future because it allows a person to persevere and overcome immense challenges. We live in a challenging era, but the reality is there is no better time in history to be a Jew other than right now. We should not and cannot let anti-Semitism intimidate us, and we also cannot allow politics and other petty differences to divide us as a people. We are much stronger when we are united and must never forget the incredible loyalty and unity the first generation survivors shared with each other. Another lesson I learned from my grandfather and many other survivors is the importance of always treating others with incredible kindness and managing each interpersonal relationship with extreme care. When encountering bystanders, interacting with associates, neighbors, and friends, it is critical to always leave each encounter with the other person feeling good about themselves. Be a likable, friendly, and gracious person. Not only will it make life more enjoyable and easier, but it has the added benefit of others associating Judaism with positivity. In my opinion, this is the most practical way we can fight anti-Semitism each and every day. If we live lives of positivity and optimism, it will be apparent to those we encounter. There really is no other choice because, on the contrary, if we are nasty and selfish, it only reinforces hatred for Jews. Despite the fact that anti-Semitism is a scary part of our reality and a threat to our existence, even the most extreme version of Jew hatred, the Holocaust, could not eliminate us. I do believe we face a bigger threat than anti-Semitism, and that is our own complacency. To my fellow third generation survivors, it is clear the number of Jews in society and those getting together every year to embrace traditions, culture, and heritage continues to decline. As Jews, we face the existential threat of assimilation, and we need to fight this inertia. It is important that we embrace unity, Jewish pride, traditions, holidays, whatever it is, either cultural or spiritual, that allows us to preserve our connection to Judaism, not only to honor our ancestors, but to also preserve our connection for subsequent generations. Unfortunately, those of us third generation participants who are involved today are not the main concern. It is those who are not participating today. We are entering our prime adult years and becoming the gears of society. It is now our duty and obligation to carry the torch and promote strength and unity. One practical way to do this is to encourage our friends and family who, for whatever reason, have not prioritized this commemoration to re-engage. I firmly believe that if we are able to stay united and strong in numbers, then we are best prepared to face future challenges and afford future generations the opportunity to have even better lives than we do now. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sophie Cook, the great-granddaughter of Gertrude and Henry Cook. Right now in 2020, it's hard for me to relate to the Holocaust. It's hard for me because I can't imagine living in a place where I'm not allowed to be Jewish. I owe so much to my great-grandparents for building a stable life here in America, so I am where I am today. About a year and a half ago, I visited the Holocaust Museum in New York City with my dad and a friend. It was a really moving experience. You could see many of the artifacts from people and there were videos of how horribly they were treated and facts about specific people in the Holocaust. It made me feel angry and that something so awful could have happened. But it made me feel hopeful that people care enough to make a museum to remember the people and this time. Though it's hard for me and my family to relate to what my great-grandparents went through, we do honor their traditions and memories. One thing we do is by lighting a candle on Yom HaShoah and honor them. Last May, I became a bat mitzvah over Zoom. I know Henry and Gertrude, whom I'm named after through my Hebrew name, would have been proud that I'm carrying on Jewish traditions that were so important to them. In conclusion, I would like to reiterate that we are so lucky to be here today to remember our ancestors, and as painful as it is, I will continue to learn about the Holocaust so it never happens again. Thank you, and now we will move on to the memorial candle lighting.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Sophie. If there was ever a moment to define the words Medor Lador from generation to generation, this Yizkor is that moment. While the virus rages, technology has allowed us to keep our commitment to remember and never forget. Today's candle lighting will involve 4 generations and 6 families from 4 states. They will each have a chance to personalize this moment by sharing something that they would like us to remember. The world seems full of darkness these days. Jews are sometimes blamed for this killer virus, and anti-Semitism continues unabated worldwide. We, the generations born to survivors who were the remnant of European Jewry, we need the light of these candles, if only to remind ourselves that we are the spark that enables the light. We are also the voices that need to fight Holocaust revisionists, deniers, and the poison of the internet superhighway. We must bring our light to the dark world behind us. Our parents were the first targets of the final solution, but we, the second, third, and fourth generations, a little louder? Our parents were the first targets of the final solution, but we, the second, third, and fourth generations, were the generations that Hitler, Yamach Shemo, intended never to be born. As we light these candles, we renew our commitment to remember what half the world is trying to deny and what the other half has already forgotten. At this moment, I would like to remind our candle lighters to unmute before speaking, and we'll go to the first candle. First candle is in memory of our beloved grandparents for whom many of us are named. The world stood silent while our grandparents were murdered by the Nazis and their collaborators, giving their personal message and lighting the first candle in memory of our grandparents is survivor Jenny Sill and her daughter 2G Sarah Sill from New York.
Hello, my mom, Yaja Rottenstein Zgnilek. My dad, of blessed memory, was Shlomo Zgnilek. Both were from Sosnowiec. I am Sarah Esther Zgnilek, after my grandmother. Some of you know us better as Jenny, Saul, and Sarah Sill, courtesy of a US immigration officer who thought no one in America could pronounce a name starting with ZGN. But we can, and we must speak those names lest they be forgotten. We light this candle in memory of the Rottenstein and Zgnilek families and the Langarten and Reisman families who perished in the Holocaust.
Really? She said bye. She wait.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. The second candle is in memory of the rest of our slaughtered families, aunts, uncles, and cousins we never knew, and for whom many of us are also named. Giving their personal message and lighting the second candle in memory of our slaughtered families are survivor Ruth Goldstein, accompanied by her daughter-in-law, Tina Goldstein, from Maryland.
Good afternoon.
They're having a Yizkor today.
It is an
They're
honor.
having a Yizkor today, but on the computer. So listen, let's listen.
It's okay.
Oh, I can't.
Should I continue?
Yes.
Okay. It is an honor to be here today with my mother-in-law, who was born in New York, Bendin, Poland. She survived Birkenau and Auschwitz together with her sister, Mrs. Halina Weiser, of blessed memory. Their brother, parents, and grandparents perished in the Holocaust, along with many members of their extended Waldman and Melnick families. Over the years, we have heard many stories of my mother-in-law's experiences during the Holocaust and its aftermath, and two observations have always inspired me. One is of my mother-in-law's strength and will to live. The second is of her unwavering faith in God, despite the tragedy she endured. My in-laws, Mr. and Mrs. George and Ruth Goldstein, were always proud members of this society. Lighting a candle at a ceremony such as this carries with it special meaning. The Holocaust was a destructive flame which brought so much loss and suffering upon our family and our people. As we light the Yizkor candle, we remind ourselves to channel that raging fire of the past into a contained and focused flame to build our future. My in-laws carried their traditions and the names and memories of their loved ones through the flames of the Holocaust. Their legacy is secure because those traditions, names, and memories live on in us.
The third candle is in memory of all the families of the Zagłębia region who were murdered without leaving any surviving family. Today, we remember them and giving a personal message and lighting the third candle in memory of those without any surviving family will be 2G's Michael and Rhoda Danziger from New Jersey.
You for this honor. One candle, 6 million. We light this candle for your family, which are my family, and for my family, which is your family. Our loss, beyond numbers, infinite. Grandparents, aunts and uncles. The memory of a wrinkled hand lighting candles. A quivering voice singing Kiddush, a single drop of wine spills, and a red stain spreads on a white linen passed through generations. Our survivors, like the rejected stone prophesied by the Psalms, are the foundation stone of our families, of our lives. Amidst horror and destruction, they found strength and chose life and gave life. And so we bring our spirit together now, symbolically standing together as mourners. We remember their light and give light to memories that are our inheritance, to a darkness that causes God to weep with us, so that their souls and memory are a foundation stone for a more just world filled with their light.
The fourth candle is in memory of the Jews of Poland. Out of 3.5 million Polish Jews before the war, only 500,000 lived through the terror of the Holocaust. Our parents represent the 20% who survived. Giving their personal message and lighting the fourth candle for the 3 million Polish Jews who were murdered will be 2G Rose and Michael Monotlik from California.
Hi, my name is Michael, and I'm lighting this candle in memory of my father-in-law, Torbia Pils, who we call Tata. On behalf of my wife, Rose, my in-laws, Miriam and Danny Levy, and our entire mishpucha, we want to pay tribute to our Tata, our family patriarch, who had passed away this past May, and it would have been 103 years old today. As a young man, he endured the horrors of the Holocaust in 7 concentration and labor camps. He never gave up hope for survival. Tata's parents and 5 siblings were murdered. Only one brother survived. In the DP camps, after the war, he met the love of his life fella, and they had also a survivor. She lost her whole family. They had a wonderful life together for over 50 years. After the agony of losing their families, they had 2 daughters, followed by their pride and joy, 4 grandchildren, their spouses, and 9 great-grandchildren. Our parents were an inspiration to our family and left us a wonderful legacy. Despite all the atrocities he endured and the challenges in his life, Tata always had a positive outlook, always had a smile on his face. He was gentle, loving, friendly, and worked hard and never complained. He personified the word mensch. Everyone who met him loved and admired him. Tata also taught us traditional values. After Mama died and passed away in 2007, he continued lighting Shabbat candles every Friday night until he passed away. He often spoke about the Holocaust and his experiences, so we would never forget, and we would pass it on to the next generation. He also expressed the importance of Israel's survival, most important to him. Tata had an incredible journey for over a century, and we consider ourselves blessed and grateful to have had him in our lives. He is our family hero. We love you, Tata and Mama, and we miss you very much every day. We like this candle.
Fifth candle. Fifth candle is for every Jew who has ever been murdered for simply being a Jew. Whether it was Auschwitz in Poland, Baba Yar in the Ukraine, the Olympics in Germany, a kosher supermarket in Paris, the murders of Jews in synagogues in Pennsylvania or California, we remember those murders today. Giving their personal message and lighting the fifth candle will be 2G's Toby Reiner and Larry Fine from New York.
Thank you. I'm so thankful for this opportunity to pay tribute to my parents, Gutcha and Henrik Cook. After surviving such unthinkable loss and devastation in their young lives, they were somehow strong enough to begin rebuilding and being able to imagine a new life in a foreign land, America. In just a short period of time, they began writing their new family story and joyfully brought my brother Jack and me into their new world. From our nuclear family of 4, the extended Cook family has now grown to 24. In fact, Their great-granddaughter, Sophie Cook, who is a 4G, spoke so beautifully from her heart earlier in the service today. After surviving the Holocaust, they probably couldn't have imagined such riches. They are the foundation of our family tree. Mom and Dad, we miss you and think of you always. Thank you.
The sixth candle. The world knows of only one Jewish child murdered in the Holocaust. That's Anne Frank. But we know the dreadful, horrific truth. 1.5 million children murdered before they could dream, murdered before they could achieve, murdered before they could understand. Today we light the sixth candle in memory of Alla Kinda, the 1.5 million Jewish boys, girls, and babies murdered during the Holocaust, while the world shut its eyes and shut its heart. Giving their personal message and lighting the sixth candle will be 3G Sally and Mark Friedman, their 3-year-old daughter, 4G Remy Drew, and their 6-week-old son, 4G Freddie from New York.
We light this candle in memory of and in honor of my grandparents, Sala and Isaac Elbaum, and Fela and David Ehrman, all of whom survived the Shoah. I'm a 3Ger, and here with me are 2 4Gers, Remy Drew, named after my papi David, and Freddie, Hebrew name Yitzkor, named after my nanny Fela and Papa Izzy. And my name is Sala, named after my nanny Sala. My grandparents would all be pleased to know that there is now a 4th generation who will carry on their legacies, tell their stories, and continue membership in this society.
It's hot, Mom. It's hot. Hot. It's hot.
Yeah, it's hot.
Thank you, Lorraine Cantor Kaplan, and all of the candle lighters for their words and for participating in this moving ceremony. We hope, or when we wish, that next year we can be together in person at Beth Israel. And until we meet again there, everyone have a healthy and happy new year.
Thank you, Alan. And thank you, everybody, for joining us today for what is obviously not the service we had in mind when this year began. Among the many lessons we hopefully will take from this most bizarre year is to be more flexible, to be more patient and creative. And we're gratified to see so many in our community participating so eagerly and from places all over the world. Whoever thought that the word Zoom would figure so prominently in our lives as it does today. But here we are, and as we've done for so many generations, we adapt to our circumstances and we move forward. This year has brought more than its share of challenges, from a global pandemic that still threatens us all, social unrest that has at times brought unwanted violence, and continued anti-Semitism both in the United States and abroad. It seems that any time there's a crisis, either here or overseas, someone figures out how to blame Jews, and 2020 has been no different. And as with our response to COVID-19, we must always remain aware and vigilant. One of the things that has made me so proud to be part of this organization my whole life has been the unfailing generosity of our members, no matter the circumstances. This has obviously been an extremely challenging year for all of us, with so many losing jobs or seeing compensation reduced. We know it has been difficult for many, including those who rely on the organizations we are so proud to support each year. The economic recession has badly affected charities that provide critical assistance to those in need, particularly Holocaust survivors for whom COVID has leveled yet another obstacle. As we have in the past, this year we have chosen to support self-help in the United States and in Israel, the UJA's Community Initiative for Holocaust Survivors. Self-help provides high-quality services and care to more than 4,300 survivors in the New York metropolitan area. The UJA initiative similarly provides unparalleled services through a network of Israeli organizations that care for survivors in Israel. As always, 100% of all funds donated will go directly to these two wonderful organizations, which enables survivors to maintain independence, dignity, and quality of life as they manage their day-to-day lives vulnerable to COVID. Our goal is to raise $23,000 for both programs, and we are very pleased to say that we are well on our way to reaching this goal. And we thank those of you who have already sent in your donation cards. For those of you who have not, we ask that you can contribute whatever you can by sending in the donation card that you received in the mail. If you do not have your card, please reach out to one of our board members or send an email to fobs18@gmail.com, and we will make sure to send one to you. Thank you again for your flexibility and your patience and your enthusiasm this year. And we wish you and your families a new year filled with good health and happiness. Lorraine?
Thank you. The cities and towns. These are the cities and towns in Poland that comprise the Zagłębia region. They are just strange sounding words to us, but they were home to our survivor parents. These are the cities and towns of their Kinderjahren, their childhood, where they played and laughed, where they dreamt and prayed. These are the cities and towns of our grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, and all the generations that came before. Today, we will say Kaddish for those who would have loved us had they survived the horrors of the Holocaust. Today, we will also say Kaddish for those who perished with no surviving family. For in these cities and towns, each survivor, each child of a survivor, each grandchild of a survivor, each great-grandchild of a survivor is mishpacha, family. Bendin-Sosnowicer, Chelaj, Klimontov, Danduvka, Dombrova Gornicza, Goanug, Grojec, Xavera, Lagisha, Machki, Miłowice, Modzejów, Niemce, Nifka, Olkusz, Piaski, Sławków, Strzemieszczyce, Wolbrum, Wojkowice, Zagórze, Zawiercie, and Somkowice. Thank you.
Mole Rachamim, the prayer for the dead. El Male Rachamim, שוכן במרומים, אמצא מנוחה נכונה, תחת כנפי השכינה, במעלות קדושים וטהורים, כזוהר הרקיע מזהירים, את נשמות כל אחינו, בני ישראל, אנשים, נשים וטף. Exalted, compassionate God, grant perfect peace in your sheltering presence among the holy and the pure, to the souls of all our brothers and sisters, women, men, children of the house of Israel. שנטבחו ושנחנקו ושנשרפו ושנהרגו על ידי הצוררים הגרמנים, יימח שמם וזכרם, ועל ידי שונאינו ורוצחינו בכל מדינות אירופה בזמן ההוא, יימח שמם וזכרם, who were slaughtered and suffocated and burnt to ashes by the German oppressors. May their name and memory be blotted out, and by our enemies and murderers in all the countries of Europe at that time, may their name and memory be blotted out. בגן עדן תהא מנוחתם, אנא בעל הרחמים, הסתירם בסתר כנפיך לעולמים. וצרור בצרור החיים את נשמותיהם, אדוני הוא נחלתם, וינוחו בשלום על משכבותיהם. May the memory of our brothers and sisters endure, inspiring truth and loyalty in our lives. O merciful God, embrace them in your sheltering wings forever, and bind their souls in the bond of life. They are with God. May they rest in peace. And let us all say, Amen.
Amen.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Steve Elbaum, and next to me is my wonderful wife, Judy, daughter of survivors Fella and David Ehrman. We both had the nachas of, under these circumstances, of listening to our daughter Sally and her family light the sixth candle just a few minutes ago. Before I recite the Kaddish, I'd like to spend a moment just reciting the names of our grandparents who we did not know and usually don't get a lot of airtime. So I'd like to mention their names and then proceed with the Kaddish. My father, Isaac Elbaum's parents were Yisrael Elbaum of Bendin and Itka Volhandler of Volbrum. My mother's parents, my grandparents, were Shlomo Bierman and Tema Holzdorf of Olkish. My wife's maternal grandparents were Mariam and Yaakov Rosmarin of Sosnowicer, and her paternal grandparents were Yitel and Leibish Erman of Zaviercha. 2 of the 8 died before the war. 6 of the 8 perished in the Holocaust. Now I'm going to stand up and recite the Kaddish. Hopefully you're looking at me and not my belt buckle. Yiskadal v'yiskada shemei rabbah, v'yalmo divra chirusei, v'yamlich malchusei, v'chayachon v'yomechon, v'chayei dechol beis Yisrael, b'agala v'zman koriv v'imru amen.
Amen.
May Rabbah mivorach le'olam olamai omayo. Yisborach v'yishtabach v'yisporah v'yischoman v'yisnasei, v'yisada v'yisalal v'shalei v'yisalal shmei dekudisho b'richu. Elo min kol b'rasa v'shirasa, tush b'rasa v'nechemasa, damiron b'yalma v'imru amen.
Amen. Amen.
Min shemaya, v'chayin oleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'imru amen.
Amen. Amen.
Shalom b'mromav hu yaseh, shalom oleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'imru amen.
Amen. Amen.
Und nicht kein Mal hast du gehst dem letzten Weg, wenn Himmeln bleien verstellen bläue Tag, kommen wird noch unser ausgebänkte Schau, es wird abbeugt an unser Trott, mir seinen da, kommen wird noch unser ausgebänkte Schau, es wird abbeugt an unser Trott, mir seinen da. Von grünem Palmenland bis Weidenland von Schnee. Wir kommen an mit unser Pein, mit unser Weh. Und wo gefallen ist ein Spritz von unser Blut, sprotzen wird dort unser Gewurre, unser Mut. Und wo gefallen ist ein Spritz von unser Blut, sprotzen wird dort unser Gewurre, unser Mut. Das Lied geschrieben ist mit Blut und nicht mit Blei. Es ist nicht kein Liedl von a Vogel auf der frei. Das hat a Volk zwischen Fallen dick gewähnt. Das Lied gesungen mit Naganes in die Hand. Das hat a Volk zwischen Fallen dick gewähnt. Das Lied gesungen mit Naganes in die Hand. Never say that you are on your final way. Though leaden skies may be concealing days of blue, because the hour we hungered for is now near. Beneath our tread the earth shall thunder, we are here. Kommen wird noch unser ausgebänkte Schau, es wird abbeugt an unser Trott, mir seinen da. Kol od balevav penima, nefesh Yehudi homia, ulfate mizrach kadima, ayin letzion Sophia. Od lo avda tikvatenu, התקווה בת שנות 2000, להיות עם חופשי בארצנו, ארץ ציון בירושלים. להיות עם חופשי בארצנו, ארץ ציון וירושלים.
This concludes our service. We are deeply touched by the moving and eloquent remarks from all our speakers. We thank Dr. Hannah Berliner-Fischthal, our second generation speaker, Jason Plowner, our third generation speaker, and Sophie Cook, our fourth generation participant, for sharing their inspiring and heartfelt reflections with us. We thank Cantor Kaplan for his beautiful prayer service and musical accompaniment, which added so much dignity to our service. And thank you to Steve Elbaum for leading us in the Kaddish. We are especially grateful to the 6 FOBS families and 4 generations who joined us for the candlelighting ceremony from all over the country to honor and so lovingly memorialize their loved ones and all those who were so brutally murdered. Special thanks to our co-president, Lorraine Kaufman, for her poignant introductions and renditions of our cities and towns. As Jeremy already articulated so eloquently, these are especially difficult times for needy survivors who are struggling with illness, hardship, and loneliness. They need our help more than ever to live their last years in dignity without having to go hungry or having to choose between paying for medication or paying the rent. If you have not already done so, please send in your Yizkor donations. Please give whatever you can. 100% will go directly to help survivors in the US and in Israel. You can reach us at fobs18@gmail.com to receive the Yizkor donation card. If you would like to participate in next year's Yizkor service, please contact us at the same email address, fobs18@gmail.com. We hope today's remarkable speakers inspired you to volunteer for next year. If you would like to receive membership information, please also use the same email address. Again, a great big thank you to all our speakers and participants in today's service, to Jeremy and Alan for hosting the Zoom service, and to all of you, wherever you are, for joining us. From all of us to you and your loved ones, we wish you a happy, sweet, joyous new year filled with good health and peace. And we look forward to seeing you all in person at next year's Yizkor commemoration at Beth Israel. Amen. And thank you.